everyone, it's Carly Hall, and in today's tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to apply a vinyl decal or sticker to your water bottles. We're going to work on a layered design, so we have the white vinyl behind and the navy blue on top. And I'm going to show you a technique to not only layer your design so that they're centered, but then also how to apply it to whatever surface that you're applying it to. Here's what we need for this tutorial. You'll need your water bottle blank, whatever type of container you want to apply it to. I have some tools, so a squeegee will be helpful, a weeding tool, scissors, and then for the materials that we're using, you'll want some masking tape or blue tape, something that's easily removable. And then I have my two colors of vinyl, so whatever vinyl colors you want to work with. I have white and navy blue, and then some transfer tape. This vinyl is Starcraft permanent vinyl with the matte finish, so I will link it in the video description as well as all these other supplies you'll be able to find links to. Optionally, we have some parchment paper. This is an optional step, but I will show you how to work with it and hopefully you'll learn something new. All right, let's get started. So here I am in Cricut Design Space. I just have a blank canvas open and we're going to add some text since I am adding names to my water bottles. If you're adding an image or a character, the process is very similar, but we are going to be using a name for this tutorial, so I'm going to start with the text tool. So go ahead and click on the text tool. And I've already chosen my font. It's a font from Blush Font Co. It's called Blissful Brush, but you can choose any font that you want for this project. And then go ahead and type out your word. At this point, you can resize your word to be whatever size you need it to be. I want it to be around 2.5 inches. So now this will match the same size proportions as my first water bottle that you saw in the video. The default color that the font comes in as is gray, and it doesn't really matter what color you set this to be. If you left it gray, you could still load in whatever vinyl you need it to cut, but I do think it's a good idea to change the color to match a color similar to the vinyl you're using. This won't change the color of your project since you're loading in the material, but it is a good visual reminder of what color to load when you're cutting. Now that we have our name typed, we're going to create that offset or shadow layer. To do that, we're going to click on the name and then choose offset. The default offset is 0.25 inches, but you can increase that or decrease it however you want. I'm going to leave it at the 0.25. You can even type in the value. And if you want more square corners, you can choose the square option, but I like the rounded. Weld offsets, if you don't weld offsets, it will create an individual offset behind each letter, which is not what we want. So we want to weld those to create one solid image behind our word, and then click apply. We know that we're going to cut our offset in white, so I'm going to change that material to white. We're almost ready to go. We could cut it right now and it would work just fine, but I'm going to recommend adding a weeding box to make this just a little bit easier for us. So to do that, I'm going to separate my two layers and I'm going to draw a rectangle around my image. So it's going to start with a square. I'm going to unlock that up at the top, this padlock, so that I can rearrange it. Then I'm going to set it to the back so I can see my shape on top. You can conserve as much or as little material as you want. The only thing that I'm going to recommend is to add a little bit of room on the edges, so on the left and the right, because we're going to use that parchment trick. And I want a little bit of area to tape down my design onto my table. So I'm just going to leave a little bit on the left and the right. I'm going to highlight both of those together and center them up. We want these two layers to be white, so you can choose white or attach them together and then change it to white. I mentioned that you need to attach them together. If you don't attach them together, these will cut as two separate images. So you'll have your offset and then you'll have a rectangle, but we want them to cut on top of each other so that there's just one image. And to do that, we'll highlight both of them again together so you can see on the right, they're both highlighted, and then we'll choose attach. That will tell the Cricut that we want them to cut just as we have them here. We'll do the same thing with the name. So I'm going to grab the square, unlock it up at the top, and then send that to the back. For this one, we don't need it to cut any bigger than what we already have, so we can just get this as close as we need, and then align center, And you can see if I attach them here, they'll both turn gray, which is fine. I can just change the color here back to navy blue. Make sure to save your work. And now we're ready to cut. So we'll click Make It. For this project, I wanted to show you that you don't need Smart Materials to cut without a mat if you have a Maker 3. So I'm going to choose without a mat. Even though it says for Cricut Smart Materials only, we are going to use the StarCraft material. And then I'm going to say, remember this selection so that both of my mats will have the same selection. And then click Confirm. Okay, so now you can see that we need our material to be at least 13 inches wide. If you don't have vinyl that is 13 inches wide, then you will need to use a mat, and you'll just secure that onto an adhesive cutting mat and then cut the scrap. I do this with all my scraps, but when I have a larger piece, I like to just cut it without the mat because it's a little bit easier. You do lose a little bit more material on the top margin and left margin, but for the convenience, I don't mind. Okay, so both of those look good. Let's continue on. As I mentioned, I'm using a Maker 3, so I'm going to connect with Bluetooth, and then I'm going to choose Smart Vinyl Permanent. Even though it's not technically Smart Vinyl, this setting will work great for this. So we'll click that, and then I'm going to check this Remember Material setting so that the blue mat will also have those same settings. Here's an overhead view of my Cricut machine. So my material is 13 inches wide, and it's 7 inches long, so it's just long enough. And I'm going to load this in under the rollers. So I have it under both of the gray rollers and then under these white clips right here. While still holding on, I'm kind of pushing against the roller. I'm going to click that load button. And the Cricut will then pull it in and measure to make sure that I have enough material. Once the button starts flashing, go ahead and click that. This will begin to flash when it's done, so we can unload. And then we'll load in our navy blue. On the screen, you can see that it's prompting the next color, which is why I think it's important to change the color to match your material. Then we'll click the load button and the go button. Now that both of our decals are cut, we can weed them. So weeding is the process of pulling away the part of the image that we don't want in our design. So I'm using a weeding hook. You don't need to use a specific kind. You can use tweezers, really a sharp point, so a push pin or something like that. And I'm going to hook the material that I don't want in my design and just peel it away. So you can see that I peeled the outside of the name, and that's why the weeding box is super helpful, because if I didn't have that box, I would have to trim down my decal first before taking out the negative. I also want the insides of the letters, so I'm going to peel that away. The weeding box also is a great guide to trim down your material, so you can use scissors. I like to use a ruler and a knife, and then just follow the weeding box line and trim down my material. This helps create really great scraps, so I can use this for another decal, another project, and I'll save that. With the white vinyl, it's a little bit more difficult to see, but the liner of the StarCraft is blue, so I do like that because now when you weed it, you can see that blue outline, which is great for weeding intricate designs. We'll do the same thing and trim down this decal. Since the offset is super abstract, I like to look at my preview on my computer to make sure that I have it oriented the correct way. So I've just pulled up Design Space, and then I'll turn that to match the image on my screen. Now that I know which way this goes, I'm going to tape down my design onto my table. So I just have some painter's tape. I'm going to tape that right onto my table. Next, I'm going to cut a strip of transfer tape that goes over my entire image, including the white cloud image. So I just want it to be big enough to cover the entire design. So I want my transfer tape to be big enough to cover the design, which it is. And then I'm going to place these letters on that outline. To do that, I need to pick this image up with my transfer tape. So I like to kind of put my transfer tape into a U and then press down so that it's nice and smooth. And then from the back, I'm going to use my squeegee and just burnish it on. Now this technique using parchment paper is optional to help line it up. If you want to just eyeball it and place it, you can totally do that. But I find that the parchment paper technique does help me line it up. So I have a strip of parchment paper, and then I'm going to peel off the liner from my name. So I have that peeled off. And what we're going to do is use the parchment paper as a guide. So I'm just going to stick this onto the parchment paper, okay? So it's on the parchment paper just like this, and I have some of my transfer tape exposed. Now I can move this around without it sticking, and I can see where my design is going to end up. So I can just move this around until I'm happy. So once you're happy with the placement, you're going to stick the transfer tape edge down onto your table. So now that this edge of my transfer tape is down on my mat, I can peel back the transfer tape and remove my parchment paper and then adhere my name onto the first layer. So now we're just going to burnish this on so that there's no bubbles. And now we have our decal. So we can remove our tape. And we're going to peel back our design with it still on the liner. So I still have it on the liner. And to make this a little bit easier for us, I'm going to trim away the transfer tape along the edges. So we have our decal, both layers, and it's on the liner. We'll grab our water bottle, and I'm placing it on the side of my bottle. I've already cleaned my bottle to make sure that there's no stickiness or debris or grime, so we're ready to transfer. The decal is going to go right here, just like my other one. So here's my other bottle right here, and I want it to go in the same spot, so right here. I also thought I would mention that I'm using the same squeegee to hold my bottle so that it doesn't rock, which is really helpful. So now our decal is ready to be applied, and we're going to use the hinge method. Typically I'd put my hinge right down the middle, but since this is a curved surface, it's a little difficult to lift left to right. So instead we're going to go up and down. So that way we can measure and place it in the center of our bottle. And then when we're happy with the placement, we're going to secure it with a piece of tape at the top, just like this. So now it's held on with some tape, and what we're going to do is we're going to flip it up and we're going to adhere it. You can do this in sections or you can do it all at once. For small decals like this, I feel like it's easiest to just go all at the same time. I'm going to turn my bottle so you can see what's going on, and then I'm just going to slowly press it down so that there's no bubbles. Now we can remove our tape since the transfer tape is holding it in place and the vinyl is on the bottle. And we'll use the same tool to make sure that the white is on there. Give it a good finger squeegee, just ensuring that all of the edges are nice and smooth. Once everything's smoothed out, we're going to take our transfer tape and peel that off. If you want to save that for another project, you absolutely can. I just stick it back on my vinyl liner so that I can reuse that. And here's a look at the final product. How cute is that? All right, so now that we're done with the project, I wanted to talk about care instructions for these bottles. So first of all, the bottle itself is dishwasher safe, but I always say that if something's handmade, it's probably best to hand wash it. Do I hand wash it? No, I put these on my top rack of my dishwasher and they're fine. But if you're gifting these or selling them, it is best practice to recommend hand washing. This vinyl is permanent vinyl, but all dishwashers are different. All dishwashing detergent is different. So it's up to you on if you want to stick these in the dishwasher with a heat cycle and all that good stuff. They have survived my dishwasher, so if that puts your mind at ease, there's that. Before you run and wash this or even put it in your dishwasher, you'll want to let the adhesive cure for 48 hours. And I know I will get questions on what do you cure this with, how do you cure it, and you just cure it with time. So I will literally put these on my desk, just set them like this, and I will wait 48 hours. I'll wait 48 hours before I do anything with them. And it's just like a sticker. If you put a sticker on the wall, it's easiest to peel off right after you stick it on there. But if you wait a couple of days, it gets harder to peel it off. Same concept here. The adhesive will be fully permanent in 48 hours. So go ahead and let those cure before you do anything, and your adhesive will be permanent and will last a really long time. I know we went over a lot of tips and tricks today, so hopefully you learned something new. And if you have questions, make sure to leave them in the comments. If you're looking for the supplies used in today's video, I do have those linked in the video description, so go ahead and head down there and you can find links to vinyl, parchment paper, tools, all that good stuff, even the font. So hopefully that answers all the questions you have. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like it and consider subscribing to my channel to learn more about Cricut, Glowforge, crafting in general. If you have recommendations for tutorials that you'd like to see, make sure to comment below, and if I have a video, I'll send it your way, and if not, I'll add it to my to-make list. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next video.